Hey, what's up, guys? It's Russo, and I've got 6 picks for the Sunday slate, week 3. Man, I can't believe we're already back to Sunday. Feels like I just put out a video for week 2 Sunday. These weeks have been flying by, but really excited to get into this. I love this part of the week. Saturday, we have like all of these plays to go through. We have 14 games for the Sunday slate, so I'm excited about it. I'm putting out 6 picks for this video just because I felt like putting it out. I'll explain to you guys some of my favorite picks. I know, like, you guys can let me know in the comments. Do you guys play 2-mans, 4-mans? Do you like going for the 25x 6-mans? Kind of helps me, understand what kind of content you guys want me to put out. I always assumed the more picks that I can put out and share just in a video, some of you probably appreciate it. But I see some of these creators putting out like 2 picks is like the typical thing. So I'm like, that just doesn't seem like as much fun to me. But I'll break down my favorite plays from this. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be going with. And I'm honestly also going to probably put out some demon picks over on my other channel, which is in the description below if you guys want to go subscribe to that. But yeah, so we're going to be going with CeeDee Lamb over 81.5 receiving yards. We're going to run it back with Jaxon, Smith-Njigba over 73.5 receiving yards. Still too low, in my opinion. Odunze, 63.5 receiving yards. We got quite a bit for this Dallas game. Tyler Allgeier against Carolina, going to go over 10.5 rush attempts. And then Javonte Williams just going fantasy score 14.5. And then Wan'Dale Robinson over 7 receiving targets. So part of the reason I wanted to put out 6 picks was because 3 of these picks are for that Chicago-Dallas game, which I think is going to be absolutely fire for fantasy and for Prizepicks and stuff like that. So that's what I'm feeling. Let's talk about it a little bit more. We're going to break it all down. If you guys don't mind, do me a favor, like the video, drop me a comment. If you have picks that you're interested in, just hit me in the comments and I'll look them up with my tools and get back to you as soon as I can. Trying to get these videos out a little bit earlier. So I've got, maybe a full 24 hours or so before the games kick in. So I don't get my back up against the wall trying to put slips out in the Discord and whatnot. But yeah, let's talk about it. If you guys haven't signed up for Underdog yet, you play 5, you get 50 in bonus funds when you use code BACKDOOR. So that information is down below as well. If you do sign up, also shoot me an email to bdfantasysports@gmail.com and I'll throw you a free month in our Discord as well. And then Chalkboard, $20 free, no deposit required. You just use code BACKDOOR and they're going to hook you up. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so starting with CeeDee Lamb, this is the highest over-under, projection of the week, 50.5. The Bears defense has not looked great. And neither has the Cowboys. We kind of expected that with Micah Parsons leaving, but both of these offenses are looking pretty solid, pretty explosive. Only 1.5 point spread, so they're expecting it to be high scoring. Should be a lot of fun. That's why I ended up, I grabbed like 3 plays from this game. If we look at CeeDee Lamb 2025, this one's pretty simple. 81.5. I don't expect things to slow down if he did that to Philly and the Giants, both tougher defenses than he's facing, but we know that Chicago, with Ben Johnson, they're going to be able to keep it close. And so I think Chicago actually opened as the favorites to win this game. And they're playing in Chicago. So I think this is just going to be a classic shootout. And that's kind of like both of these teams. That's the way their games are going right now. If they're going to be in this, it's going to be because of a shootout. Neither of their defenses are doing much. But yeah, as far as matchup goes against wide receivers, Chicago is 24th in receiving yards allowed, 169 on average. So I expect Lamb to at least get over that 81.5 line. He'll probably go for 100 again. That's kind of what I'm guessing. Let's look at what his targets have been like. So yeah, he had 13 targets in week 1, 11 targets in week 2. He went for 7 receptions and 9 receptions. Average yards per reception around 14. And then his longest reception, he had both weeks. He had a 32-yard reception and a 33-yard reception. I just don't think this is the week that things slow down for Lamb. So I'm feeling good about taking this, just the receiving yards alone. Let's take a look at daily grind. This is the DFS optimizer. Essentially just crunches the numbers across all the platforms and lets you know what your play looks like compared to other platforms and what they're offering it at. So they like the receiving yards to go over. Not a ton of juice, 51.18% though. We'll take it, minus 121. We've got some platforms bump this up to 82.5. I know we're kind of like splitting hairs when you're just bumping it one yard or so, but Pinnacle has the 82.5 as a minus 130 to go over. So there's a lot of juice on Pinnacle. That's kind of our favorite, odds maker to sort of compare to, at least mine. And then let's see, they also like his longest reception to go over. Makes sense. We just said he went back-to-back weeks, 33 or more, 32 or more, I think it was. So 25.5 does sound solid, but I'd rather just take the full receiving yards altogether. That's just me. Let's see. They're not liking the receptions over 6.5. They think that's a little bit steep, according to Daily Grind. 52.62% odds to hit the under. I'm not personally taking the under, but you do have all of these platforms favoring the under. So go with your gut. You do have some pivot options. We're going to go over some bonus plays at the end of the video, so stick around for that. All right, so let's move on. Jaxon, Smith-Njigba. We've been just riding this play. It's only been 2 weeks, but I told you guys, like, JSN is legit, and the dude is just clearly the number one, and he is just showing up every week. So far, just absolutely dominant and still going under the radar a little bit. Opens up against San Francisco, 124 receiving yards, and then goes and plays in Pittsburgh and goes for 103 yards. And they're still not bumping his lines that much. Take a look at the targets here. 13 targets in week 1, 10 targets in week 2. We've been kind of wondering, what is Sam Darnold looking like? Was it just Kevin O'Connell that made Sam Darnold look good? And so far, I mean, Sam didn't look great, but he's getting the ball to his number one wide receiver. And that's what we were really asking that question about. The question wasn't as much about Sam Darnold. It was more about JSN. Is JSN going to be able to continue what he did last year at the back half of the year? Now that Geno's gone and we've got Sam Darnold, the question hasn't been as much about Sam Darnold as JSN, but he's getting the ball to JSN. And so, if we take a look at the receptions, he had 9 receptions in week 1, 8 receptions in week 2 against tough defenses. And so this matchup here, playing at home against New Orleans, I guess the main thing we have to worry about here is potentially a blowout. Let's take a look at what this over-under is looking like. 41.5, yeah, and Seattle favored by 7.5. So that's the only thing we have to worry about, but it is still Kellen Moore. I get it, I just think that Kellen Moore is still going to run a bunch of plays, and he's gonna be very pass heavy. And I know that, like, I'm not saying that to JSN. I'm just saying there's a chance that the Saints could at least try to keep this somewhat close. And I think that even if this does turn into a blowout, this line is low enough at just 73.5 receiving yards. Let's see what these game totals. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the game against Pittsburgh, 31-17, that's not quite a blowout, but kinda. And he still went for 103 yards and had 8 receptions on 10 targets. So I'm not scared by the potential blowout here. And then JSN does play well at home. The home field advantage always typically helps a little bit. If we look at the matchup here, overall, 16th in receiving yards allowed. If we go specifically to wide receivers, 12th, so 127.5 receiving yards allowed. I think that the Seahawks end up beating that average in this matchup. But regardless, I think JSN's going for at least 74, if not cracking 100 again for the 3rd week in a row. His average yards per reception, 13.4. His longest reception, 41.5. So far through 2 weeks, each week he's had at least 140 or more receiving yard catch in each game. So he had 40 in week 1 against San Francisco and 43. So they're not respecting JSN enough to bump this line, in my opinion. And we're going to keep riding it until they bump it. Let's take a look at Daily Grind for this play. Okay, they like the longest reception, over 23.5, 51.36% odds to hit the over minus 123. The receiving yards, they like it. Over 73.5, they have it at a 51% odds to hit the over minus 121. Pinnacle has this line at 75.5. So significant bump over on Pinnacle, and they still have that at a 50-50. So we are getting a good line here at 73.5 on Prizepicks. So yeah, I mean, like, I love JSN. I drafted him a couple years ago in our his rookie year. Me and a bunch of my friends have a really competitive dynasty league, and so we had our startup that same year, and I drafted him in the second round, and I got laughed at a little bit, but I don't care. I've been just waiting for his time to come, and now I can just start him every week, knowing like yeah. See, this is why I drafted him so early. Big fan of this guy. So I'm always checking these lines every week. I'm like, okay, so are we taking JSN again this week? And yeah, if you're keeping him in the high 60s, mid low 70s, I'm taking that every week. That's just me though. So you guys go with your gut. All right, let's move on here. Odunze. All right, so he had kind of a breakout last week. They got slaughtered by Detroit, but even in a massive blowout, 52-21. Ben Johnson just kept utilizing and getting his reps in with his team, giving his guys an opportunity to work. This is like the best practice for them, especially as a new coach trying to get things clicking with an offense that actually has quite a bit of weapons. And Odunze, I think that this is his breakout year. He's had great fantasy performances. I know that he didn't do much yardage-wise against Minnesota. That was like more of a slower pace game. Close game too, 27-24. And but against Detroit, it was a slaughter. And he's still, let's take a look here. So he had 9 targets, went for 6 receptions in week 1. And then he had 11 targets, 7 receptions in week 2, even in a massive blowout. So in this game against Dallas, that's going to be much closer. I like his fantasy score too, but the 62.5 receiving yards, I think it's too low. It's too low. It's plain and simple. What I've been looking for, the reason I liked Rome coming into this year is with Ben Johnson. If you think about the Lions, the last couple of years, I was kind of like, okay, who is the Amon-Ra St. Brown? Who's going to be like the Jameson Williams? And it's not like these guys are just one for one going to be those archetypes exactly, but like who is Ben Johnson putting in what role? And I think Odunze has always shown this incredible athleticism. He just needed to clean up his catching a little bit. And now he's got, I think, an offensive mastermind calling these plays. And I think that their offense has shown signs of being really good. They haven't been stringing together wins yet, but I think things are looking up for Chicago offensively. If we look at this matchup here against Dallas, 32nd in receiving yards allowed to wide receivers. That's part of the reason we love it. So far through 2025, 226.5 and a half receiving yards allowed per game to wide receivers. 301 overall. So Dallas's defense is just stopping nothing, and Chicago is kind of doing the same thing. We just saw the Lions put up 52 points on them in week 2. So these are the types of matchups that we look for. That's why I have three picks in this game, and I think that Odunze is going to have a big game regardless of what the score looks like. If we look at through these 2 weeks, so I think we talked about the receptions already, but just in case I didn't, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 11 targets, 7 receptions through week 1 and 2. Average yards per reception, 12.3. Again, he didn't do much, but he got into the end zone twice in week 1. So for fantasy, it was still a solid output. But then his average yards per reception in week 2 was 18.3. So they could stack up quick. If he ends up going for 5 catches, 6 catches, we're going to cash that real quick. Longest reception, he had a 37-yarder in week 2, and then a 17-yarder in week 1. So I just think this is looking solid. If we look at the pass plays, 37 in week 1 and 37 in week 2. So the attempts are there. Ben Johnson is going for big plays. All right, let's see here. Is there anything else we wanted to look at for this? Let's just jump over to Daily Grind. We already talked about the over-under, highest over-under on the week. And only a 1.5 point spread. So they like his longest reception over 22.5, 52.12% odds to hit the over, -127. They like that fantasy score. I almost took the fantasy score instead, because I do think he's getting in the end zone. They don't like so they don't like the receiving yards at 63.5, 50.1% odds to hit the under. So as low of a lean to the under as you could make it. But I think it's because we have a lot of platforms that have it at 61.5, and Prizepicks does have this one on the higher side at 63.5. So go with your gut. If you'd rather take the fantasy score, 13 does sound great to me, especially in full point PPR, which is what Prizepicks runs. So go with your gut, but I'm still totally comfortable taking the receiving yards personally. But again, I almost took the fantasy score. So, all right, Tyler Allgeier. So this is the backup running back for Atlanta, who's been running the ball, I think, more than anybody. And now they've got like the super soft matchup against Carolina, playing in Charlotte. And I mean, like, this is just a low line. Thought about taking his fantasy score. I think it was at 6.5, but I think that this game is going to be one-sided. And I think we might get to a point where they're like, okay, why risk it with Bijan? Maybe fourth quarter, Allgeier. Second half, fourth quarter, Allgeier getting a lot more run. Let's see what this, where are we at here? Let's see what this over-under even looks like. I must have missed it. Okay, here we go. 43.5. Atlanta favored by 5.5. So yeah, that honestly seems about right. Maybe Carolina can kind of figure some things out. They kind of haven't looked quite as good as I was expecting. I wasn't expecting them to be great this year, but they don't quite look like Bryce Young in particular doesn't look as good yet as he did towards the end of last year. And so we'll see how this goes. But either way, teams have been able to just typically run all over Carolina. And so if we look at Allgeier in week 1, close game, Tampa Bay ended up getting it done 23-20, and Tampa Bay, very difficult rushing defense, and they still gave Allgeier 10 rush attempts. And then he gets 16 in that blowout, 22-6 against Minnesota. That was wild. Let's look. They had 39 rush plays in that game, in that blowout. That one in particular was pretty one-sided. 62% of their plays were rush plays. So even in a game where they had more pass plays than rush plays, he still had in week 1 10 attempts and then 16 attempts. So I think he gets to 11 because I just think that they're going to kind of exploit. I mean, they've been kind of doing this to everybody. They've been pretty run heavy. If we look at Carolina here, they're 20th in rushing attempts against. So teams tend to like to run against them. 27 is the average so far through 2 weeks. So this one's pretty simple. I just think that if he goes for 10 in week 1 and 16 in week 2, and now he's got Carolina, I think there's a good chance that that they utilize him and he gets at least 11 for us. So this line looked good to me. Let's take a look at daily grind. Okay, so they like his longest rush over 10.5, 52.21% odds to hit the over -127. That's the optimizer's favorite play. They actually don't like the rush attempts. So again, go with your gut. Let's see, 10.5, they have it at a 50.71% odds to hit the under -120. Everyone's got it at 10.5, and kind of not a lot of juice one way or the other. I mean, BetMGM has a -125 to go under. I don't understand. Maybe there's something that I'm missing here, but whatever. There we go. They like his rushing receiving yards combo over 46.5. 50.45% odds to hit the over if you'd rather take that. That's what the optimizer is liking. Oh, wait a minute. Did it update? No, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. All right, let's move on. All right, Javonte Williams. This one's pretty simple. He looks great. The O-line is playing good. And, yeah, I mean, he goes for 20.4 against the Eagles. and somewhat of a close game, 20-24. And then he goes for 25 against the Giants. So even in, I mean, gosh, that's a 77 point total. I know that game went to overtime, but that's still super high scoring. And he goes for 25. He's just been getting all the love. Let's see. Let's look at the actual matchup here. Because we know he's a pretty solid pass catcher as well for a running back, but he's just been getting all of the work, and he's been delivering, getting lots of touchdowns and whatnot. So, against Philly, he had 54 rush yards, and then against the Giants, he had 97 rush yards. But this matchup, 27th in rushing yards allowed. Chicago, again, has not been the defense that we kind of thought they were coming into the season so far. 30th in rushing yards allowed to running backs. So 123 on average through 2 weeks. And let's just look at the touchdowns matchup. 29th in touchdowns to running backs. And he had 2 in week 1, 1 in week 2. When they're right there at the goal line, it's just Javonte. That's all it's been so far. So I expect them to keep that up. They've been kind of keeping the scheme pretty simple like that. But 1.5 touchdowns allowed so far through 2 weeks is what Chicago's been giving up to running backs. So I'm going to be taking the fantasy score because I think there's a lot of different ways that he can get this done for us. Just wanted to show you guys some of those key matchup aspects. I think I always spell his first name wrong. Is that right? Let's see. Got it right. Wow. I like the under for his rushing receiving touchdown. I would not be doing that personally. Do we have fantasy score? I don't think the optimizer is catching the fantasy score. So I'll just show you guys some of these other options if you'd rather pivot. Receiving yards, they like his receiving yards over 14.5. They have it at a 51.42% odds to hit the over -123. And looks like everyone's got that at a 50-50 or a little bit juiced to go over. Underdog has it at 15.5, and they're still favoring it to go over. They like him over his 64.5 rushing yards, 50.87% odds to hit the over -120. And then they do like his longest reception over 9.5. They like his longest rush over 14.5. I just disagree about the touchdown. I think he's getting in the end. So there is the fantasy score. So they don't like the fantasy score over 14.5, 52.3% odds to hit the under -109. And I think that's just because it is a little bit higher on Prizepicks. Pinnacle has it at 13.4. No one has it in the 14. So you are paying a premium on Prizepicks for the fantasy score. If you want to pivot to something else, go for it. Or if you don't want to take Javonte at all, you can go for it. Let's see. All right, last one. So Wan'Dale Robinson. We're just going for the targets here. I like it when I see a target pick that isn't, too high, because you don't need them to do anything. You just need the ball to be thrown their way, which is nice. He's exceeded this every week so far in 2025, 8 in week 1, 10 in week 2. And this is the last game of the night, the primetime game. Let's look at this over under here. And, the Chiefs defense hasn't been that impressive so far. Their offense really hasn't been either. I always miss these when I'm trying to scroll. I went way over. Let's see. There we go. So 44.5 point game total, the over under there. And then the spread is 5.5 favoring the Chiefs. They're playing in New York. Both of these teams are 0-2, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think it would be hilarious if the Giants end up beating the Chiefs and sending them to 0-3, just because I think that would be funny. But let's get back to Wan'Dale. I just, so the over under 44.5 actually kind of decent. That's not super high, but not super low either. This week's kind of tough. So the Monday night game at 52.5. Besides that, on the Sunday slate, that Cowboys Bears is the highest. And then the 44.5 seems like, a couple other games are around there, but that's among the highest. There's not like a bunch of barn burner type matchups this week. So I expect him to get at least 8 in this, and he's been targeted pretty heavy lately. So if we look at the let's see, target share, 21% in week 1, 23% in week 2. We know Malik Neighbors is going to get his. I think Malik Neighbors is still somehow underrated. Like, what he's doing for his size is just incredible. Like, he's not the biggest wide receiver, but he just gets up there, contested catches, like these acrobatic, crazy, like physical. I don't know how he does it at that size, but that does draw a lot of attention. So they want to stop Neighbors, and Wan'Dale has actually been getting a lot of love from Russell Wilson, a lot of looks going his way. So yeah, I'm feeling good about these targets. I would say I'll start getting into it in a minute, but I would say that if you're going with a smaller slip, this would probably be one of the picks that I wouldn't include. That's just me. But let's look at the matchup here. Let's go to receiving yards so we can actually look at this here. So yeah, 19th in receiving yards allowed to wide receivers, 158 receiving yards on average through 2 weeks, 19th. So yeah, it's not like a scary matchup. Again, the Chiefs defense doesn't look like what we've seen for years so far, where it's just like these low scoring games and the defense is just stopping just about everything that teams are trying to do. So I like Wan'Dale to just get that amount of targets, at least 8. Let's see. I don't know if okay, I gotta put the apostrophe. I don't even remember what I was going to say. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, I don't know if the targets are going to be on here, but we'll look at some other options if you want. So they like his longest reception over 17.5. They have that at 51.34% odds to hit the over minus 123. Receiving yards, they like him to clear that, 43.5. 51.18% odds to the over minus 121. They like his fantasy score over. So they're liking the main options here. So that makes me still feel good about the targets. The optimizer isn't picking up the targets. And sometimes if there's only like one platform that has it, I think the optimizer just misses it sometimes. But they do like longest reception, receiving yards, and fantasy score all to go over. Not a whole lot of juice, but it's really only catching these 3 plays so far. Maybe it'll pick up on more as we get closer to kickoff. On Sunday, middle of the day, you might see a lot more options on the optimizer popping up for Wan'Dale. If you guys want to get the optimizer for yourself, they have all sorts of tools over at Daily Grind. This is the DFS optimizer. It's really great. I like to use it to vet my plays, but you can also use it to search for plays like I'm going to show you here in just a minute. But if you use code BACKDOOR, you get 25% off your first purchase. You can lock that in for as long as you want, all the way up to a year if you want. If you want to just like say, hey, I'm going to do it for 3 months, so I got the rest of the football season. But it works for all different types of sports, baseball, basketball. It's really solid once we get basketball here in a little bit. When the NBA is back, it's solid because it catches plays, honestly catches plays that I think are mistakes, and they'll be on the board for like 5 minutes. So you don't have a whole lot of time to lock it in, but I think that's what a lot of the sharp bettors that you see out there are doing, is they're using tools like this to quickly jump on a play that seems to be some sort of mistake when there's a big discrepancy. So yeah, killer tool. Check it out if you'd like. Yeah, that's going to do it. Let's jump into the rest of the Sunday slate, and I'll show you guys what the optimizer is liking for this 14-game slate. So this has been juiced for a minute. This does seem low. Matthew Stafford, over 15.5 fantasy score, 55.1% odds to hit the over minus 122. BetMGM has it at 15.2, but we got FanDuel 17.7 and DraftKings at 19.7. They like this Jared Goff and Lamar Jackson passing yards combo to go over 494.5. 55.02% odds to hit the over minus 122. They like Cam Ward for at least 1 reception. 54.57% odds to hit the over minus 138. Everyone's juicing that to go over. Makes sense. I think Cam Ward, he's just not he's not totally ready. I think that he's showing a lot of promise, but he's not doing that much better of a job than the quarterbacks they've been running the last couple of years so far. Let's see. Cortland Sutton, they like him over 4.5 receptions this week, 53.76% odds to hit the over, -134. Travis Kelce, over 11 fantasy score. A little dicey to me, but they like the juice there. Probably because Prizepicks has it at 11. Everyone else has it closer to 12, mid to high 12s. Ryan Fitzgerald kicking points over 5.5. That is very low. 53.52% odds to hit the over, -133. Russell Wilson over 18.5 rushing yards, 53.43% odds to hit the over, -133. Kyler Murray over 31 pass attempts, 53.39% odds to hit the over. Tyler Warren over 4.5 receptions, 53.38% odds to hit the over, -132. Jared Goff, they like his fantasy score to go over 17. Alvin Kamara, longest rush, 13. A little bit of juice on there. They like Jalen Hurts over 9 rush attempts. Cam Scadaboo under 9.5. Yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty hyped on Cam getting more work lately. I drafted him in my Dynasty League, and Jordy actually has Tyrone Tracy, so I've been trolling Jordy since I drafted him in our Dynasty League. And as Cam's been getting more work, I've been loving the troll game. So Dak Prescott, they like him to get at least 1 interception, 53.19% odds to hit the over, -132. TJ Hawkinson over 34.5 receiving yards, 53.17% odds to hit the over, -131. I kind of am torn on this one, but I get it because we do have Carson Wentz, who I think is going to be a little bit more competent, than JJ McCarthy was, just because of the pure experience. And Kevin O'Connell tends to do great with veteran quarterbacks, and so I'm interested to see what the Vikings look like. I think they're going to look a little bit better this week with Carson Wentz back there. Doesn't mean he's like the long-term answer or anything, but we've seen this with Kirk Cousins and then with Sam Darnold. Like Kevin O'Connell, he works well with these veterans. He works well with all quarterbacks. He's the best quarterback developer in the league by far. But he puts his guys in positions to win. We still don't have Jordan Addison. And now you have Aaron Jones on IR for like at least a month. So we know that Jordan Mason can catch the ball, but that's not really a big part of his game. So maybe Hawkinson does see a little bit more love this week. So, but I'm still nervous about it, but I get it that it's favored to the over. All right, we'll do a couple more and then we'll get out of here. Zach Ertz over 3.5 receptions. That looks good to me. We do not have Jaden Daniels this week though. So it's going to be Marcus Mariota, but we've seen last year, Marcus Mariota fits right in with his Cliff Kingsbury approach, with play calling. So the scheme works well. It's just a matter of is it still going to work? Because we don't have like a huge sample size of that, but Mariota did fit well with the scheme last year. He put up some points for them last year when he was relieving Jaden Daniels. So 3.5, yeah, I think that seems solid potentially. It's not like you need him to do a whole lot. All right, Jalen Hurts, they like him over 26.5 pass attempts. And then Davante Adams over 5 receptions. That also does seem low to me. And then last one I'll leave you guys with is the optimizer likes Bo Nix to get at least 1 interception, 52.86% odds to hit the over. That's going to do it, guys. I appreciate you so much. I think I am going to later on tonight over on my other channel put together some demon plays. So if you guys like the demon options, I always have fun with those. I'll put like a couple bucks, $1 or $2 on, like, I like making crazy YOLOs, YOLOs that are like at least 200x typically. Sometimes I'll throw one out like, 75x, 100x, but I like having a little bit of fun on Sundays. If I can, I'll get wild with it. If the board looks really good, I'll go for like, 1500, 2000x, something like that. Sometimes I'll put $1 on a flex and $1 on a power on the same play. And then if it hits, I'm getting the power and so I have fun with it, but I think I'm going to throw out some demon plays later tonight when I have some more time to put out a video, but that's going to be on my other channel. So if you go down below, there should be a link to the Russo channel. I'll do that later. But if you guys don't mind, once again, like the video, drop me a comment if you guys have any plays you want to talk about. As always, I appreciate the support. Have a blessed weekend. I will catch you in the next one.